I mentioned to you that all I do is travel. It's just amazing. So it had to happen sooner or later. I am on a flight from Atlanta, Georgia to New York City, and they came walking right on the plane. And when they walked in, if you'd have been there, you'd have thought the same thing I thought. I looked at those two, and I just knew those two are heading for the Jerry Springer TV show. There's no doubt in my mind. She sat right beside me. She's never been on a plane before, and she doesn't want to talk at all. Took me the time, no big deal. We take off, and we get almost to New York City, and she looks at me and says two words. She goes, "I'm bad." I said, "Excuse me?" She says, "I'm bad. My mama says I'm bad. My friends say I'm bad. And I am going to the Judge Hatchett TV show because I'm bad." Now, I looked at her, and I tried to talk to her about choices and consequences and Jesus, and all she could say was, "Whatever." And she got up and walked off the plane. She was 14 years old. Now, my radio network is called KLOVE. It's a Christian network. It's based in Sacramento. And twice a year, I go out and speak to our employees. We've got about 400 people. I'm on the radio with about 400 of their stations. It's great fun. I was there less than a month ago talking to them. While I'm speaking, there's a lady in the audience who is signing. And I think that's fascinating. She was signing rivers of the world, rivers of the world. And I thought, that's so cool. When I finished, I went to thank her and said, "That's the neatest thing I've ever seen." And she did this. And I said, "What is this?" She goes, "Well, this is what my kids say to me all the time." I said, "Okay, what does it mean?" She goes, "Well, it means whatever." All right, choir, two choirs. It's three fingers up. Let's all do this now. Three fingers up and whatever. So now next week when David is preaching, and next week, okay, whatever. And when she did that, I thought about Nicodemus. I mean, wouldn't you? Nicodemus came to Jesus by night, and Nicodemus goes, "All right, you've got to be from God. Nobody could do this unless they were from the Lord." And Jesus tells him the gospel. Jesus tells him the gospel. For God so loved the world that he sent Jesus, not to condemn the world, but that through him the world would be saved. And you would think that on hearing that, Nicodemus would have been jumping up and down, but all he says is, "How can these things be?" Which, as you know, is the biblical equivalent of whatever. That's exactly right. Now, when I was a kid, I had one of these. Let me find it. I had one of these things. I have heard, have you ever seen these? You squeeze it, you put coins inside. I have heard that this is called a coin purse. I have an image. This is not a coin purse. This is a coin thingy. And when I was a kid, I had a coin thingy, and I put all my coins in this and put it in my pocket, and I can remember so distinctly filling this up with coins, putting it in my pocket, and I felt good to go. I feel like, I got it all together, and I've got enough money to go to a movie. I can buy a Coca-Cola, popcorn, and a big pickle. I am good to go. Well, Nicodemus is a Pharisee. That means he's very uptight religiously. He's got the law, he's got the prophets, and that's it. All of Nicodemus's faith can fit in a little thingy like this. And when Jesus shows up and says, "I have come so that you can have everlasting life," that just doesn't compute to Nicodemus because it doesn't fit in here. Well, the more I understand us, I think there are times when, well, for a lot of us, we keep our faith in a little box like this. And when we hear the gospel and something exciting, there's just no way we can really relate to it. It's like we've got this list of things that we check off in life as Presbyterians. You're born and then you're baptized, check that off. You go to confirmation class, you go to school. Maybe you go to college, you get a job, maybe you get married, you might have kids. And we check off all these things as we go through life. And then in some moment of clarity, we wonder, why is my life so boring? Why is it so predictable? How do I get irritated so easily? I don't know if you know this or not, but the Lord was worried about that. He sent some angels down to do a survey about how we live our lives They came back up. The news was not good. The first thing that goes, oh, this is bad. We got about 95% of them who are misbehaving. There's only 5% who are hanging in there with us. Oh, that's not good. The next angel comes back, got the same news, 95%, not doing so good. There's about 5% hanging in there. So the Lord thought, well, I'm going to send an email. I'm going to write that 5%, and I'm going to tell them to hang in there and just send them something very encouraging. And you know what that email said? Oh, I didn't get it either. I thought maybe some of y'all got that email. But I know some folks who got the email. How about that? I know Daniel. Daniel got that email, and Daniel recruited a team of folks, and they went all the way across Kenya telling people about Jesus, and they ended up climbing Mount Kilimanjaro and doing a film about it just to tell folks about the Lord and to kind of emphasize the work that we do together in that part of the world. Nick got it, Scott got it. They got on bicycles and they rode the entire length and the width of a country called Belize, sharing the gospel, handing out our digital Bibles, telling folks about the road. And down in a place called Punta Gorda, they got caught by a hurricane and they had to get on their bicycles, and the hurricane chased them back up into the mountains, but they made it. Julia, Jennifer, Dean, oh, they got the email. If you were with me in Sunday school, you saw pictures of those folks. They went with me to the Congo. We had to go from Mbujimai to my base in a place called Musambo. It's 150 miles. We did it in a pickup truck driving through the jungle, and it only took 20 hours to go 150 miles. We had to stop at night because word was out that we were going to be attacked by bandits. And I took my Americans, I locked them in the truck. Uma and I took our big knives, and we sat up one night coming in, one night going out, holding our knives, and waiting to be attacked by the bandits. But we got there and back, and we were fine. PJ got it. And PJ is a nurse. So you're a nurse. Are there any other nurses here besides Fred? You're a nurse. Any other nurses? Raise your hand if you're a nurse. I love it. Come on. Oh, let me tell you what I learned about nurses. I had forgotten this. PJ is a nurse who runs a hospital in North Charleston. PJ didn't want to go with me to Honduras. PJ was very difficult to deal with. And finally I said, you know, PJ, this is about fun. It's about serving the Lord. It's all about attitude. Why are you going? And she goes, I don't want to go on this trip. I said, well, duh. She goes, but the Lord told me I got to go. I don't want to be there. It's going to be hot. There'll be bugs. And I don't speak Spanish. I don't want to go. But God told me I'm going. She went. And let me tell you what I learned about nurses. If you stand still, a nurse is either going to wrap you in a bandage, stick you with a needle, or shove a pill down your throat. Is that about right? Everywhere we went, they took over abandoned buildings and turned it into a clinic. They set up a clinic right out under the trees. One family asked us to come into their home and turn it into a clinic. In the midst of it all, oh, it's hot. It is so hot and nobody speaks English and it's just patient after patient. I decided I would slip in and take a picture of PJ working away in the clinic. I slid into this little room and I got against the wall and I'm watching this woman. She's just covered in sweat. She's caring for one patient after another. I took her picture, and as I got down to take it, I noticed that on the wall above this nurse was a copy of that wonderful painting. You've all seen it. Jesus is on his knees praying in the Garden of Gethsemane. And in that painting, Jesus is praying, Father, not my will, but your will be done. And I just knew, I took PJ's picture, that she never even noticed that painting because she was so busy doing what God wanted her to do that she never saw the painting on the wall behind her. Now you bring all those folks together and you talk to them and say, what is life like? And the last thing they would say is predictable and boring. They would say that their lives are so filled to overflowing that they can't wait to see what God does with them next. And it's all because they were willing to put themselves in a position to hear God's will for their lives and respond. And I hear these exciting stories and I meet these folks. And then I wonder, why is it we travel and travel and travel and we talk and talk and talk? Why are we not all lined up saying, here I am, Lord, send me? And I think I know the answer. And I'm going to share it.